All I have to say about this one is yippee-ki-yay, mother. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well out there. And today we're going to talk about a film that's a little divisive in terms of is it a Christmas movie or not. And there's a meme on the internet, and I'm going to restate it here. There's two sets of people in this world: the people who think Die Hard is a Christmas film and those that are wrong. I believe it's a Christmas movie, but I'm not here to argue that. I don't really care, but I think it's a Christmas film we're going to talk about today. But before we get into it, like, comment, subscribe. Join me here. I greatly would appreciate that. Click on the little notification bell. That way, every time I upload a video, you'll get notified and see what the hell's going on over here. Today, we're talking about the action classic and one of the best action films of all time, Die Hard. This film came out July 20th of 1988. It's rated R. It's a little over 2 hours long, had a budget of $28 million, and upon release, it made 83.8 and 141.6 worldwide. Now, this was kind of a sleeper hit that summer, even though they had a producer in Joel Silver, he did Predator before, along with the director of this film, John McTiernan, which Predator is one of the greatest action films of all time as well. Plus, you could pile on sci-fi and horror onto that category. And he got to do this the next year this came out, and John McTiernan was 2 for 2 and went on to do some other really good films over the years. Now, Bruce Willis was the reason why this was a little bit of an underdog film. He stars as John McClane in this film. But back then, Bruce Willis was a TV star. He was in Moonlighting. And back then, it wasn't normal for a TV star to cross over in the movie, especially major motion pictures. Some people did it, but most of the time, if you were in TV, you were in TV. It's not like today where people jump back and forth all the time. And he got a $5 million payday, which was really unheard of back then as well. We also got the great Alan Rickman as Hans Gruber. This was Alan Rickman's first film role, and boy, oh boy, does he knock it out of the park. Bonnie Bedelia plays Holly, John McClane's wife, and Reginald VelJohnson plays Sergeant Al Pal, and a lot of people remember him from The Father in Family Matters, which I used to watch that show as a kid. And I'm assuming most of you have seen this film. This is definitely a classic action film and a classic Christmas film too. But just to go over the general plot right away, we have an estranged husband coming out to LA to visit his wife and his kids. They moved out there several months earlier, and he stayed in New York. He's a New York cop, and he gets picked up by a limo at the airport and brought to Nakatomi Towers for their Christmas party where he can meet up with his wife. And soon after that, a group of terrorists show up and start wreaking havoc. But they don't count on is John McClane throwing a monkey wrench into their plans and causing them all kinds of headaches. And after that, we get gunfights, hand-to-hand combat, big ass explosions, and all the like that you would expect in an action film, and a nice, awesome action package. And it went on to become one of the greatest films of all time. Now, what to like about this film? What to love about this film? John McTiernan's directing. Back then, John McTiernan was the best action director around, hands down. It wasn't even close. Especially coming off of Predator, which is an amazing action sci-fi horror film. And then he went on to do Hunt for October. I think The Last Action Hero is underrated, considering how I think that movie's better than people give it credit for. And he did Die Hard with a Vengeance, which is definitely the second best Die Hard in the franchise. So you had John McTiernan's directing, which is very strong. He keeps the pace moving. The action is incredibly well shot. And it's really well edited for maximum impact. And then you got Bruce Willis as John McClane. Now, he's made a whole career off of being this character. He went on to do other films that were big hits, but everybody's going to remember Bruce Willis as John McClane in Die Hard. He's perfect in this role. Back then, action stars were muscle-bound guys like Schwarzenegger, Stallone. Dolph Lundgren was around this point. Chuck Norris. I mean, these were big. Well, Chuck Norris was probably on the smaller side, but Chuck Norris was a pretty stacked dude as well. And here you got this kind of normal-looking guy. Doesn't have the super strength. This isn't Commando. I mean, there's definitely this movie is definitely grounded in reality. I mean, there's a few little over-the-top moments, but everything is so grounded that you just buy into it, and it makes for a very serious action film with a lot of comedy in it as well. And the side characters are great. And then you got to talk about Alan Rickman, one of the best villain performances in an action movie of all time. I mean, he went on to do other villain roles over the years through his career. Sadly, the man has since passed away. But this was his first film role. And a funny little piece of trivia, the scene between him and Bruce Willis on the roof, up by the roof when they meet for the first time, and Hans has that American accent, that scene wasn't in the original script. They actually did not know that he knew how to speak English, Alan Rickman. And they heard him speaking English, and they wrote that scene quickly, and they performed it. And because they were trying to figure out a way to get Hans Gruber and John Mcclane on screen at the same time before the climax of the film, and that's how that scene came about. Bonnie Bedelia is great as his wife. The whole cast here, Hart Boucher's in this movie as a yuppie, sleazy, executive. You got Sergeant Dwayne, or Sergeant, he's the deputy commissioner, Dwayne T. Robinson, who's a bumbling idiot, but he thinks he's smart. And we all know those people at work that have a higher position that probably don't deserve it because they're not the brightest at their job or most effective, and he definitely fits that bill. Then we got the Johnsons, the FBI guys, played by Robert Davey, who's fantastic in their role as being the smug FBI guys that think they know what they're doing, and the terrorists already have their number and they're waiting for them, but they think they have it over on the terrorists, which is great. The comedy, the one-liners from Bruce Willis to the terrorists is fantastic. Again, the action, the other side characters like William Thornburg, the reporter, who's an absolute sleaze, although he was a scumbag in Ghostbusters as well. So he had a couple roles of being scumbags in the 80s. And I guess that actor said, even on the streets, people hated him so much they would talk shit to him on the street, which I think is hilarious. It's funny, people they just associate you with that, being that person. And the guy, suppose he's a really nice guy, but he's a complete prick in these movies, let's be honest. Nakatomi Plaza in the film was actually 20th Century Fox's headquarters at the time. It wasn't finished, so they were allowed to film there. A lot of the explosions were set off for real in and around the building. So yes, those are real explosions in and around the building. This is pre-CGI, obviously. So when you had to do explosions, you pretty much had to do it for real, and they did it here. I already told you Bruce Willis got a $5 million salary to do this film, which was unheard of at the time. He was also shooting Moonlighting at the same time he was filming this film. And this was based on a novel, Nothing Lasts Forever, as well, though they did change quite a bit, but it's based on a novel as well. I really don't have any negatives with this film. This is actually a perfect action film in my eyes. It's a movie I've grown up with. It's a movie I watch every Christmas. I love this movie. I do believe it's a Christmas movie, and the reason I think it is, it's about a man coming out and trying to reconnect with his family and make amends with his wife during the holidays. And a lot of the times that's what the holidays are all about, mending fences with people you had a disagreement with. In this case, it just happens to be his wife and his estranged wife and his kids, and he's trying to come to terms with their situation and hopefully save his marriage. And I think there's nothing more Christmassy than that. And his whole goal, once the terrorists hit, and they're not even terrorists, they're more thieves, as we find out during the film, is that, his main goal is to save his wife along the way. And if he wasn't there, she would probably get killed, because we all know Hans's main plan was to blow the rooftop with everybody up there, and that way by the time they sift through the rubble, they think the terrorists are dead and they'd already be sitting on the beach earning 20%. But yeah, Die Hard is like the perfect action movie. It's a great script. It's great. It's awesomely directed by John McTiernan. The actors across the board. There's no weak link here in this cast. They're all fantastic. All the side characters work. They're funny. They're charming, or they're idiots, and you got to laugh at them. They're in positions of authority, and they're complete morons. And that's fun too to play into this film, considering all the things that are going on around these characters. So yeah, I would give Die Hard a 10 out of 10. This is a perfect action film. It's always going to be. It's one of the best action films of all time. And John McTiernan had another best action film of all time, Predator. Matter of fact, in the spring, I'm going to do the whole Predator series, all those films. But yes, so 10 out of 10 for Die Hard. What do I have coming up? I'm going to do my top 10 Christmas films. I got an out of the theater reaction for Spider-Man No Way Home. And I'm going to do a review right before Christmas for It's a Wonderful Life. So come on back and check out those reviews when they show up. And let me know what your thoughts are on Die Hard. Leave a comment down below. Let me know. Hit the thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button. Share this video. I really would appreciate that. I'll be back on Sunday with an out of the theater reaction for Spider-Man No Way Home. But until then, bye.